for a film. Hey, great to see everybody again. Joe Madelon here with the FIA team. But like I just mentioned, there's so many familiar faces on here. It's great to see you all, and thank you for joining us for what we call our FIA 101, right? As we started to think about how we wanted to roll out some education here in the beginning of the year, we said, well, what about these FIA 101 show? How are we going to organize these? And I said, well, we could probably host one a month. And then we looked at that and we was like, it's probably not going to be logistically, probably won't work that well because you won't have enough people in the classes. And they said, well, what if you just go in, you teach FSU for an hour, and then we have these quarterly 101s. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. That might work. So we started that. And now we've kind of pivoted and we said, okay, let's go back to a half hour in FSU or 40 minutes because I talk a lot. So 40 minutes in FSU. And then we have these FIA 101s every other month, right? So that will give us four FSU classes, and then we can fulfill those. But you guys, you may not be in that last 2 months of FSU. You might have came on AMBA here in January. So we just decided with our first one that we're going to do here, let's just invite everybody that's been appointed and still here at AMBA since January, and then anybody that's completed their 12 weeks. So that's why everybody's here. We want you to get engaged. We want you to get excited about selling our fixed indexed annuity program here because it definitely helps Mr. and Mrs. Jones, just like all the other programs that we have. Our responsibility is to make sure that we help Mr. and Mrs. Jones with all their needs, right? We want to fill in all the gaps, and that's what this fixed indexed annuity does, especially for those that are concerned about, outliving their income, or, might be concerned about, the market volatility, or, just making sure that they have some sort of protection. So I'm going to introduce my team today. So I do, before we get started, I definitely want to give a huge round of applause. You can silently clap. You can do whatever you want to Sam Kubik, right? Sam is up in the top portion there. She is part of our sales support team, and I wouldn't have the quality of slides. They would be with Crayola crayons, right? If it wasn't for Sam Kubik, right? That was a joke, everybody. You can laugh, right? I have a little bit more skill than the crayons, but Sam has done a great job. But she did not help me pick out the music. I did pick out the music. But Sam, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. And the next person I want to introduce is Matt Nordsick, and you're going to hear from Matt here in a bit. And Matt is on our FIA team, and he joined our team here in January. And Matt comes with a tremendous amount of knowledge in the financial services space. Decades of experience, and he's got real life passions and like I said, experiences in the fixed indexed annuity. So super excited for Matt to be part of this, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how Matt's going to play a part in your FIA role, right? He's going to your support, and we wouldn't be here today without James Marco. James is our legacy partner, and I call James my whatever. He is my box of 64 crayons, right? So he helps me with everything. He's on our legacy team, and James is a tremendous asset for all of us. So couldn't be here. We wouldn't be here without James Marco. So let's go ahead and start the PowerPoint. Some of these slides, most of you have seen, but we're going to do a little bit of refresher. But the main goal of our training today is, and I got to move some stuff around here. The main goal of our training today is to make sure that you are. We said this in FSU. Competency is extremely important. I think Robin, you said, knowledge is power, right? So making sure that you have this competency, so you have the confidence in order for you to be able to ask the questions and be able to help Mr. and Mrs. Jones with their fixed indexed annuity. But let me just move a slide around here. So we're going to introduce you to the fixed indexed annuity, and go through some different slides here, so you have that confidence and competence. So next slide there, Sam. So we talked a little bit about this at FSU. what is an annuity, right? An annuity is a contract, an insurance contract between Mr. and Mrs. Jones and that insurance company. So it gives you sort of some protection, right? A little bit different than the bank. I share this at FSU all the time. What does that bank insure? 250, Joe. Well, this isn't a bank. This is an insurance company, right? And James Marco is going to definitely talk to you about, our partners, Emeritus, that we currently have today, and how we have that relationship with the insurance company. But that contract is between Mr. and Mrs. Jones and the insurance company. The clients can make these lump sum payments, right? They can deposit, and that's just it. 200, $25,000 is the minimum that you can deposit in our FIA programs here at AMBA, but it's done with a lump sum payment, right? And then those return, the company provides these scheduled income payments, right? If Mr. and Mrs. Jones, they're looking for some income, they have the ability to get these scheduled payments. I said this earlier on, Mr. and Mrs. Jones don't want to, one day, look in a checking account and say, oh my gosh, I'm out of money. What am I going to do, right? So that's why these fixed indexed annuities are so important. So they can have that guaranteed, scheduled income. So what do they do? What do they offer? They offer tax deferred growth. I was just talking with somebody here in the office, and they ran into a client, and a gentleman said, well, I gotta run this by my accountant. I said, well, what do you have to run it by your accountant for? It's tax deferred, right? So unless you're taking money out of that, you really don't need the CPA at this point in time. But it's always good to get, maybe the sign off from the accountant. It's going to protect that principal, right? From the market volatility. Has anybody noticed that the markets can be a little bit crazy? Anybody notice that? Right? That's a shake of the head. Yeah, absolutely, right. And you never know, right? You never know what's going to happen tomorrow that's going to impact our markets, right? So Mr. and Mrs. Jones, can they afford that, right? Can they afford that nervousness? Like, oh my goodness, if something goes south and the market goes south, am I okay, right? My okay, Jackie, am I going to be okay? Well, it's your responsibility to make sure that you have those conversations with Mr. and Mrs. Jones and say, look, we've got your back. This fixed indexed annuity has that principal protection. And then those lifetime income options, right? Like I said, they don't want to go into their checking account one day and say, oh my goodness, I can't afford to buy that Blackstone because I have no money, right? So you want to make sure that, you have one of these fixed indexed annuities so you never outlive your income. Next slide. What is our fee? A fixed index annuity is a savings tool, right? It's designed to, make sure that the client's money can grow safely over time. It's got those built-in protections. We always say, James, you're great at this. Zero is your what? Zero.
Zero's your hero.
Zero is your hero, right? Yeah. So zero is your hero. So, and how do they grow? We've got these indices like the S&P. Anybody ever heard of the S&P 500, Peter? S&P 500, right? Right? So they're deposited in these index, or they have the ability in these programs to have utilize the indices and things like that. And then you could tell Mr. Miss Jones, no, you're protected. Don't worry, right? So that money that you put in there, you're never going to lose it. And James Marco is going to share some conversations with us here a little bit later to tell you exactly how this fixed indexed annuity program works with Emeritus, our partners. James, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, so I'll get into some of the an example of the growth here, but see if I can share. If you can let me share, Sam, I'm going to show something a psychological thing on loss aversion. People don't like losing money. Can you all see my screen right now with loss aversion on there? Give me a yes, Joe, because I can't see anymore. Correct?
You're good, James.
Thanks, Sam. So loss aversion. People don't like losing money. And my dad's a great example. He never gambled, and he told me not to because he says if he gambles $20, the pleasure he gets from winning $20 by putting $20 at risk is about a 4 on the pleasure scale. But the pain of losing $20 on a bet at a casino or in a slot machine is like a 10. So people hate losing money more than they actually trying to take risk and make money. So this is a very powerful psychological phenomenon. I'll read on my screen. I'm not the nerd who nerded out. Came back out in 1979, where the pain of losing is felt more intensely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain, signifying influencing decision making and behavior. A loss aversion is a concept in behavioral economics. So we're getting psychological. And yes, you have permission to ask your client, how did they feel when they lost money, maybe at risk in mutual funds or in the market? Because that's going to be painful. And they may be in a spot right now where losing money is not really a good situation where they're at in their retirement, soon to retire, have recently retired. Keep going, Joe. I'll circle back on just kind of an illustration itself. But for you note takers, write down loss aversion and empathize. Have you lost $20 in a bet? Do you get as much satisfaction? The pain is 4-1. We have a program where people can make money when the market's up, not lose when the market's down. And then, Joe, I'll kick it back to you. But for note takers, write down annual reset. I'll show you an example here in a couple of slides.
Definitely. And we want to make sure too, with a FIA 101 group, it's what's really unique here at AMBA is that you have a team behind you, right? I introduced Matt Nordsick. You also have, Gary DeVito, you have Jack Danielson. Obviously, we have James. You've got, your FMLs. So you have a team behind you to support you. What we want to make sure that you get when you leave here today, I can ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones that question. I can put her on Matt's Calendly to get an appointment set. I'm comfortable doing that. I know enough, James Marco, that I'm comfortable and competent enough to make sure that I can ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if she's worried about or they're concerned about, market volatility. But how does Avia grow? So when we look at our indexed annuities here, there's these minimum guarantees. You see that in the orange. So Mr. and Mrs. Jones, they've got this minimum guarantee, right? You're guaranteed something, right? You're guaranteed something. But then you also have the ability in the green box to put money into these indices, right? That's what I mentioned, like the S&P 500. So they have the opportunity to participate in the market, but they're not going to share in the losses, right? So if the market goes down, Mr. and Mrs. Jones is in a good spot. They're taken care of because they talked to you, Jeff. They talked to you. They were good. They're like, yes, thank you, Jeff, for putting me in this position. The market just took a huge downward turn, but I'm okay because I've got a fixed indexed annuity. And again, zero is your hero. So they can participate in the index, and we'll get a little bit into the cap rates and par rates as well, too. And then James is going to share an illustration to really bring it out to you. So next slide, Sam.
Aha.
So I'll turn it back to you, James, and then you can get into your illustration.
So don't worry, folks. This is where many people have their epiphany. On the screen, you see cap rate. For example, if the market grows 9%, you can earn up to your cap of 6. So I'm going to share screen again. And then, Sam, I'll take a yes, I see your screen again. Do you see my illustration, Sam?
Not yet.
How about now?
No.
All right, let me try one more time. Here we go.
It's great to build the anticipation. Now we're all really excited.
How about now?
Gotcha, buddy.
Looks good, James.
All right, so here it is, folks. Why didn't anybody show you this months ago? Well, because it's almost as simple. It's funny. On the screen, this has the lowest 10-year period. Don't get car sick on me. I'm going to pan it. This is an S&P 500. This is an index. You might have heard of it on Yahoo. If you look at S&P 500 index, you hear it on the radio, your clients listen to it. There's a chart that goes way back to the 50s. If you look at all the time, it eventually goes up over time, but we have these big valleys in the middle of there. Hence, different years in time, 2008. Last 5 years, it's gone on a pretty good run. But this is an index, the S&P 500. Here's the great news. Your client can participate when it goes up, and I'm going to zoom back in here. And if and when it goes down a little or a lot, there's the zero as your hero. So if you notice on the screen as I slowly crawl in and hopefully not make you guys ill or give you motion sickness, this is from 2007 to 2016, this 10-year period. We're assuming a cap. We have some pretty attractive caps right now. The cap is 7%. So here we go. Your client, you sold an annuity, put all their money in this index option. There's a guaranteed fixed rate, but we're doing indexing here on our index annuity. In 2007, from January 1st to December 31st of that year, the S&P 500, you heard about this index that measures the overall growth of kind of the U.S. economy, it went up 3.5%, 3.53% between the day it went into issue to 1 year later. What does your client earn as interest? We're doing straight accumulation or growth. We're growing their money. If they want to get income later, great. Until then, if they're going to grow their money in a safer place than the bank. Well, if you see the annuity value, 103,530. Fantastic. They made 3.53% with no risk. Why do I say no risk? What's going on in this line? This was 2008. I think a lot of you, we've experienced this, right? Ourselves, your clients did. How did you feel? How did they feel? Many people had a lot of money in the S&P 500, or call it in the market, if you will. And the S&P 500, this index, went down 38% in a given year, where most of the population who didn't have a portion of their money in a safe alternative like an annuity, if you were in mutual funds, if you're directly in the S&P 500 or a mix of stocks, a lot of people lost 38%, and that is very, very painful. Our smart index annuity buyer, they get a 0% return, and that's just half of the exciting news, folks. Not only do they not lose any money, they get a 0 as your hero for the year. Here's the part that clients don't really appreciate. The following year, it reset. That's the annual reset at that attained lower level. And even though the market rebounded the following year, call it 2009, it went back up 23%. Our clients reset at the lower level and are earning gains on the way back up. And I'll repeat that. If you're in a mutual fund or directly in the market, if you go down 38%, you need to dig yourself out of the hole because there's no reset in a mutual fund. This has an annual reset. Insurance carriers can buy the options to use this in external index. Your client's premium, all of it, 100,000 or 100%, is not directly tied to it. It's using it as an external index. Long story short, if the market goes up a little, your clients get a little. If it goes down a little or catastrophically, 0 is your hero. It reset at that lower level. And if it just goes up the next year, it went up 23%, your clients make 7%. I'll highlight that. 7% compounding on the previous balance. This is that compounding tax deferred. What happened the following year in 2010? It was about 2010. Market went up again. Your clients made 7% on 110,000. It's compounding. What happened in this year? Well, the market was super flat. It actually was flattened out in that time frame. They got a 0 in that year. Over time, as I kind of go through this, as the S&P goes up in bigger chunks, you're not going to make as much money, but by avoiding the catastrophic downturns, especially in your withdrawal or in your retirement phase, 0, we got 1, 2, like about 3 zeros on this page. We had a number of times where we hit our cap. What happens if the market only goes up 2%? Well, you would get 2% like in this example. So I'll throw it back to you, Joe, just to show, but one more quickly. Here's the same S&P 500 in this time frame, 2012 to 2021. What happened? When it goes up, you can make up to your cap. If you get 0 or if it's negative, you get zeros. This is where you might say, shoot, I like the look of this. You can't get rich or get poor overnight. You can stay hopefully well off, middle class or better plus. You can earn when the things go up. You get zeros when it goes down. And that could line up with your client's objectives. How did you feel when the market crashed? Did you lose money in 2008? Pretty much everyone's got a story. You can solve that equation by using an index annuity. That's what I got for Indexing 101. For those who are like, that makes sense, or I like that, or I have a relative. I think avoiding losses, very, very powerful psychological concept that we can deliver the goods with an index annuity.
Pretty cool. Pretty easy to understand. So when you're talking to Mr. and Mrs. Jones, not only do you have the endorsement from the association too, right? You have the endorsement of the association. You've got this, the wealth of knowledge with the FIA team and James Marco. And then all of a sudden you got this program, this fixed indexed annuity that can never hurt Mr. and Mrs. Jones. It can only help them, right? So make sure that when you're talking with your retirees, We've got a program. We've got this fixed indexed annuity that's to what James just said. It can only help. It can only help. So great job explaining that. And Sam, you want to start back and go to the next slide? Somebody said to me the other day, they said, well, Joe, and I share this at FSU. It's like, do people actually buy these things? Do they purchase them? Not only is the answer emphatically yes, but take a look at it. $125 billion dollars was deposited in a fixed indexed annuity in 2024, and the trends right now are lining up just that way as well in 2025. So if you're Mr. and Mrs. Jones that you just wrote that recovery care on, or you just wrote that master plan, or you wrote the life, or you had a med sup on them, well, guess what? They're buying these things off of somebody else if you're not asking, right? $125 billion, right? And why are they doing that? We talked a little bit about this. Principal protection, right? They want that, just like James said, zero's your hero. They want a little bit of growth potential. They want to experience the potential of upside growth with no downside turn. Guaranteed income, right? Again, they don't want to look at their checking account and not have any money, right? Tax deferred growth. The accountant conversation. We don't have to worry about talking to the accountant today because we haven't taken any distributions out, right? Inflation protection. You've got these guarantees in there, these fixed index rates. You've got this inflation protection as well too, and it's an alternative to bonds. So let's talk a little bit about some math here. So how does it kind of work? And Jeff Kale, I see you on here. Josh, I see you on here. I think I saw Duran on there as well too. You're gonna see a little bit of math when I see you guys here at the end of the week. But this is some simple math for everybody, right? So if you think about, our average agent runs about 8 to 10 appointments per week, right? They run about eight to 10 appointments per week, right? And those 8 to 10, they get at least two or three a day, right? Two or three appointments a day that they're running. What does that mean? That means they get two or three asks. They get two or three at bats to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Jones. You've already got them on the phone or you've got them on Zoom, right? And we're going to show you how to pivot. We're going to show you how to ask the questions. But what I'm telling you, you got attempts, you got opportunities here, right? And let's take a look at the yearly outlook. Let's say you just work a 46 week work year, right? You do that 46 weeks. I got that out right. It takes me a while, guys. That gives you about 368 to 460 opportunities to ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones, are you nervous about market volatility? Are you concerned about outliving your income? Are you paying some fees that you might not want to pay? Well, let's talk about this fixed indexed annuity that we have endorsed by your association. Now, let's break that math down for you. Let's break it down even a little bit further. Let's say out of those 460, 368 at bats, you only landed 5 applications. Oh my gosh, Joe, I only landed 5 applications. 5 applications today at AMBA would lend to 760,000 in premium. Our average application rate now is 151,000 issued. 151,000. What does that mean to commissions? What's that mean in commissions? Who here could use an extra $28,000? Everybody's hand should go up, right? Everybody's hand. And we're not asking you to do anything different than what you're currently doing today because you're writing the recovery cares, you're having appointments, you're talking to Mr. and Mrs. Jones. If you just did half, if you just did 5 of these, you'd earn about 28,000 in first year commissions at our average commission rate of 3.75. And it would give you 76,000 trip points, right? Hopefully a lot of people want to go to Spain, but if you're already writing the AP, you already have the appointments, you just have to ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Next slide there, Sam. So how do we do this, Joe? What's this appointment setting process? And Matt's going to chime in here as well too, because he's on the front lines when it comes to that. But you guys are, most of you or all of you should be out of your 12 or your 10 weeks. There might be a few here that aren't. But you've already, been asking about retirement goals and savings. You introduced the idea of protecting retirement income. You've been building trust through deeper conversations. Do you feel like you guys have a little bit more confidence You've been in here a little bit, you've been here a while, you've had some opportunities. Do you feel like your confidence is going up? Yeah, so you're in a great spot right now, right? This is where you should be. So now we just want you to have some competency and confidence to set that next appointment. That's going to be that fixed indexed annuity. But before you do that, I've got some disclaimers because I don't want you getting all excited. I got one, like the whole Ghostbusters, right? I got one. But you didn't submit your contracting paperwork to Legacy. You didn't complete the 4 hours annuity course, the best interest. You didn't complete the product training through Legacy, right? You didn't take the fee. Who added that? I love that. Sam, did you just add that? That wasn't in there this morning, was it? Take FIA 101 course with the FIA team. If but you guys all did that now. So I like that. Good ad. So just make sure that these 4 steps that you've completed, and if you are unsure, put your hand up, ask your FML, reach out to me. You can reach out and we'll figure out whether or not you've completed that. So it gets even easier. Next slide, Sam. So when you're setting these, how do I book these? Hey, look, I say this at FSU all the time. One of the things that I think is overlooked sometimes here at AMBA is that we have an endorsement. We have an endorsement with our associations. They endorse this. Absolutely, you should talk with AMBA. We endorse this program. We wouldn't endorse it if we didn't want you to talk to AMBA. So go ahead and talk to them, right? So make sure that you're always reinforcing the endorsement. Identify those financial triggers, and we'll get into a little bit more of this. We've got it all spelled out for you. We've got all these resources, guys. Remember, I told you that Sam helps me with the crayons. She also does a fantastic job of making sure that all the stuff that we create is out there on our SharePoint site. All these resources, guys, for you. They're all there for you to be able to look at and say, ask that question. We've got the scripting all taken care of it, right? And then position yourself not only as the specialist, but the person that they can trust, right? Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I may not have all the answers, but like I mentioned, your association endorses this product. And one of the reasons why they endorse it, because AMBA has a team behind me. They've got a team behind me. They've got this person named Matt Nordsick, who's got 100 years experience in the industry. I just aged you, Matt. 100 years in the industry. Let's get you on his Calendly so you can ask the questions to Matt, right, that are keeping you up at night. So just another reason why this is endorsed by the association. And then you're always going to confirm and you're always going to reinforce it, right? Look, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this is your destiny, not mine. It's my responsibility as a benefits representative is at AMBA that works closely with your association is to make sure that I bring the resources to you so you can answer the questions and you can sleep at night, right? Pretty simple stuff. Not rocket science. We're not launching anything here. No SpaceX. Next slide. So how do you introduce the FIA team? So when you do this, you're going to ask these questions. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, do you have anything set aside for retirement income? Simple question. Yes or no answer. I do. You concerned about it? You worried if you're getting enough interest? You worried if you have any fees associated with it? You concerned about maybe outliving that? So these are just these engaging questions that we already have scripted out for you, that again, they're on that resource guide to give you the competency and the confidence to ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And when you do set that appointment, you want to make sure that, do you guys know that we will pay you to set appointments? Who knows that there's an appointment promo out there? Do you guys know that? How much is it? How much will we pay you per appointment if you set it using Salesforce? Somebody can come off mute.
Is it 25?
Absolutely, Jill. Yeah, 25 or 50. If you do it on your own, it's 25. If you bring in the FIA team, we're going to pay you $50 per appointment held for you to be able to do that. You just have to log that into Salesforce. And again, we've got that resource guide for you to be able to do that. And you just book it with the FIA team. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Matt Nordsick and his role. He's going to play here for you as well, too. Next slide. How we doing on time, everybody? Good? James, Matt, good? And when your clients mention retirement, again, when they mention retirement, we're not going to share a lot of information on this one. Just another one of those resource guides. This is all out on SharePoint. When they mention it to you, don't be concerned. Don't get all nervous. It's a great question, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And I'm glad that you asked that. Again, remember, this program's endorsed by your association. And we've got that team. I've got Matt right behind me. Let's get you on Matt's calendar and you have the opportunity to ask Matt those questions, especially when you just locked up another program as well too. This is the big one too. Everybody says, well, Julie, I've got a financial person, Julie. I don't need your help. Well, that's great. Congratulations. I'm glad that to hear that you have somebody helping you. We have a few questions here that you can ask on the back end. Are you concerned about, how much you're paying in fees? Are you worried about your diversification? Have they talked to you about the bucket strategy? Do you understand the law of 100? We have all these questions for you to be able to ask Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And again, remember this fixed indexed annuity program, it's endorsed by your association. Are those programs over with your financial person endorsed? And the answer is no. Next slide, Sam. I'm going to turn this over to Matt. Matt, he's been doing this for a long time. He's going to talk to us a little bit about how to set it up with the FIA team, what you need to know, how you need to do this in order for Matt be in the best position for him to come in on the back end and really help Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Matt Nordsick.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so let me backtrack just a little bit, right? All this stuff we're going to talk about, all these little tips and tricks and basically just phrases that you're trying to use to get that appointment, right? Because when it comes to the retirement piece, right, we know that you're not trying to sell them anything, are you? You're not trying to sell them anything during this conversation, except an appointment. So build your mind frame around all I'm trying to do is get an appointment. I'm not trying to sell them a FIA or anything else. I just want to get an appointment to discuss their current retirement strategy. And when they make that appointment, and many of them will, it just means that they have some questions lingering in the back of their mind. They want to know what else is out there, right? They may be very okay with their current situation. In other words, their broker hasn't lost half their money recently. That's what okay means. Well, they haven't lost my money recently. Yeah, because any monkey could throw a dart at the board and not lose money when the market's going straight up. That's not the goal here. The goal is, are you prepared for the market to go down? So when we talk about setting an appointment, one of the first things you got to do is find the need. What do I mean by that? Well, they have a retirement account. They must have need. No, they have need if they have questions or they have some level of stress around their retirement accounts. In other words, you're trying to pinpoint the lever to pull that makes them say, yeah, I wouldn't mind having somebody take another look at that. We put on here, do you have any concerns about market volatility? That's a pretty open question, right? Do you have any concerns around the current market volatility? 99% of people are going to say, yes, I do. Okay? That's not the important thing. The important thing is your follow-up to that yes. The follow-up is simply, well, hey, endorsed through your association is your ability to sit down with one of the members of our retirement team to review your current situation. They'll just help you look at what your current situation is and give you another set of eyes on it. We don't have to be positioned in a way that makes the client think that we're going to sell them something. That's the difference between what we do with retirement planning to what you may do with some of the other products. Yeah, some products you bring the product and you sell it. And that's how we get that out there to the clients. With a FIA or any retirement situation, what we're doing is sitting down with the client to discover what their needs are and providing a solution to their need. Because a FIA is not a one-trick pony. It doesn't just do one thing. We can build it in a way that it solves for their issues. So when you sit down to talk to them, keep that in the back of your mind is, I'm not trying to sell them an annuity here. I'm just trying to get an appointment. I just want to sell the opportunity to have them sit down with somebody and look through what they currently have. And when you ask that question, and sometimes people get a little freaked out when they first start asking these questions, can you tell me a little bit about your current retirement savings and goals? One way to make that question easier is think of it as a follow-up question to the questions you've already asked them around long-term care and home health care. Because that retirement savings, in most cases, one of the primary uses of it is going to be to help them pay for long-term care. Sometimes we don't even correlate when a client says, well, I don't really want to talk about the long-term care, but then you kind of pivot to home health care, obviously. And they get more excited about that. But the reason they don't want to talk about a full-fledged long-term care policy in most cases is because they feel they are self-insured. In other words, they have assets to help pay for that. They don't know if it's enough. They're scared to ask. What we want to do is sit down and talk to them about their plans and help them figure out whether or not it's enough. So when you think about setting an appointment, just think of it as, hey, it's a free review to sit down and talk about your current retirement assets and make sure you've got things set up the way you want them long term. And when you set up an appointment with our team, you're going to use a Calendly link. Okay? And we're going to get more into that in a minute. Zoom appointments. Our appointments are going to be on Zoom. Oh, go back one there, Sam. Our appointments are going to be on Zoom. Don't be afraid to give your client homework before they get to the appointment. Hey, Miss Jones, just to make things easier so we can have a fruitful conversation, could you either have your most recent statements in front of you, or better yet, would it be possible for you to email me those statements and I'll make sure that our team has those? And then they'll have a better understanding of your current situation. Always remember, if you're doing in-person appointments, right? Early is good, on time is late. Be there early. It says bring a printer and or scanner for paperwork and wet signatures. I know that's not going to happen every day, right? Does anybody have a cell phone? All right, you got a scanner on hand, right? Has anybody actually gone through the process of learning how to scan with your cell phone? scanned a PDF on your cell phone. If we had a test today, could you do it? It's something that's, if my old dog can do it, please, I know you can. Okay. If I can learn it, you can learn it. It's not hard. It is something it's a skill you will have to learn and know how to use. And then when we get to the point where we're writing the application, always remember that we're going to need to upload from a Zoom meeting. You have to upload an unexpired government photo ID. In other words, the client may have to take a picture of their driver's license and send it to you, and you may have to turn that into a PDF so we can upload it into the app. We'll walk you through it the first time. It's not hard. Okay? Just know that we have to have an unexpired government photo ID when we're doing meetings over Zoom. The client must have one no matter what, because even if you do it in person, you have to attest that you looked at it and wrote down the numbers from it. All apps must be reviewed by a FIA team member. You're going to set the expectations with the client around the follow-ups on transfer paperwork. We are going to walk you through that. Okay. This is OJT stuff, right? This is stuff that we're going to hold your hand and make sure you understand the process the first time. I can tell you exactly how to do it. A, you're not going to remember it. And B, it's only going to work if everything goes by the numbers and no two appointments go the same way. Okay. So it is a learning curve, but it's not hard. It's just following the process through and staying organized with the process. Checking your email, making sure communications with our folks and with the legacy ladies is all intact, communicating properly and promptly when they have questions, and making sure that you set up annual reviews. One thing we didn't put in here, and I always tell agents, right? This works so well that we forget to do it and we quit doing it because it works every time. If you place an annuity with a client, you have just secured a relationship with that client that is going to last a long, long time, which means they feel pretty good about you and about us, and you feel pretty good about your relationship with them. There is no better time on earth to ask for a referral than right then. And how many times do we leave that appointment and forget? Sorry, we can go next one, Sam. Yeah, Joe.
Absolutely, Matt. A couple of things here. Joe, you asked a question, about statements. Yeah, anything, any information that you can get, and we're going to talk a little bit about the fact finder here in a bit. What's on that fact finder, but all that information, all the due diligence that Matt had said that you get prior to, is just gonna help you solidify the sale. It's funny, people say, well, those are intrusive questions for me to ask, Joe. They're intrusive questions. Who here has sold a recovery care or a life policy yet? Anybody? Now, how about a med sup? Anybody sell med sup? You think asking like medical questions that we have to ask? You think about asking for people's social security number. You ask them about their driver's license, right? You're looking at past health history, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute. And plus, I need your banking. I need the banking. I need the credit. You know what I mean? I need your account and your routing number, right? We're comfortable doing that, correct? Right? You guys are comfortable doing that? So for people to say, well, that's a tough question to ask for, that's an easier question to ask than somebody's bank account information. And if you position yourself in a manner that you are, like Matt said, a relationship driven representative, it's just what we do. it's how we do it. It's how we're going to support you and how we're going to help you. So, and we've got these guides built out again, this FIA status action guide to issue. So like Matt just said it, guys, all we need you to do is be competent and confident setting appointments with the FIA team. And Matt's going to share how to do this on Calendly here in a second. And then once you get that appointment set, and Matt and Gary and Jack do their thing and they get these policies submitted to Legacy, we've got all of these process guides here to help you. You want to go to the next one here, Sam?
Hey, Joe, I want to bring up something real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I want to ask you, Matt, and James a question. I already know the answer, but how many companies that you know of that has a team of experts in this arena doing what the FIA team does? How many companies do you know that do that and give the commissions to the agents?
Matt, I've been doing this for 23 years, and Matt and we've been a past experience together. Somebody maybe case design with you, but never shoulder to shoulder selling something while we're training. Basically, what Matt and the team does, and we fully give the commission to the agent. There's not a company I know out there. I'll ask James and Matt.
There's none. Yeah, I work with a lot of major IMOs, and just a couple of fronts. If I can endorse the endorsement, so many independent agents are in their church and marketing and trying to build credibility and known people for decades. And by you having this endorsement to say, hey, this is endorsed by your association, and you building this relationship, and then having a team of experts to go through it, there's nothing out there like this. The opportunity and the support you have, none of my IMOs have this, I can tell you emphatically.
Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I tell you what, they're not saying it doesn't exist anywhere, but the way we have it set up, you won't find it set up this way. I tell you what, the numbers work.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is there are 3 of us for a number of agents. And if you looked any other companies that are doing that, you would have one of us for that number of agents at or worse, right? And you'd never be able to get a hold of them. We're here, we're available. You can schedule my calendar. You don't call me and ask me if I have time. You simply go out and schedule me, and it's done. And I live and breathe by that calendar.
Yeah.
Answer the question, Jeff?
Yeah, I just challenge everybody to start asking. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. You don't need to be an expert at it before you start asking. I'm sure Matt and I have done a lot of hard things in our lives, in our past lives, and asking about FIA is absolutely easy compared to Matt and I's past lives. So, that about fair, Matt?
Yeah. So to Jeff's point, and Matt and James, guys, we're here to support you. We've got your back. All you have to do is what you're currently doing today, and that's already meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. You're already setting appointments. You just have to set fixed indexed annuity appointments with the FIA team. And just to go through these slides, relative to time here, Sam. So when you do submit an application, we've got it all taken care of for you, right? You'll submit that application. It'll go into Legacy. Legacy is going to check to make sure that it's suitable. I had an agent the other day. She goes, Joe, I don't want to set an appointment. I don't want to write one of these because I don't want to make a mistake. And I said, Erica, how could you make a mistake? And we went through the whole process. And I said, oh, by the way, even when you submit the application, there's a Legacy team behind you that they review it and say, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Or to your point, Joe, well, I'm looking at one of these statements here, and it looks like Mr. and Mrs. Jones might have a benefit over here that they could utilize that we don't currently offer. So right now, we're going to hold off. We need some more information. That's great. You can't make a mistake because the suitability team is going to make sure that, the FIA team and Mr. and Mrs. Jones they are locked into this product, that it's the best, most suitable program for them. So guys, we've got it. Well, we've got it figured out. So then you'll go through these, these action items here. Once it goes from legacy to Emeritus, this is even cooler. Now it goes from legacy suitability team, goes over to Emeritus. Now Emeritus is going to say, hey, the transfer paperwork is in order, or we need a signature here, or the company requires this. So now Emeritus is going to support you as we're getting these things funded. So now you have another layer of support, another layer of protection. And this is the resource guides, these action guides. Guys, we've got it all figured out for you. We've got it all figured out for you. It's, you talk about Crayola and crayons and the box of 64. We've got all 64 crayons representative here. We can all write with them. So
Hey, Joe, can I add one thing to that? A lot of people get hung up on, oh, I got an email from Suitability that I did something wrong. You can never look at it that way. The issue is this: there's a lot of stuff that is very just iffy on how paperwork has to be done. It's not about legacy requiring things X, Y, and Z as much as it is the other companies have requirements, and they do that to make it difficult for us to get the money from them. So when legacy asks you to do something on the back side of one of these, just say thank you and get it done, because they're not coming after you. They're not mad at you because you need to do X, Y, or Z. They're just helping you to make sure stuff gets through in the right way. So if we look at it that way and remember that the legacy suitability team is on our team, they're teammates. They're not the opposition. And as long as you look at it that way, it makes life a lot easier to get stuff done.
hey, Sam, will you do me a favor and go to 28? I want to get to the appointment setting process, and then we want to get James on here as well, too. So,
Oh, what a picture.
yeah, there you are. So let's go to slide 28. And yeah, we'll talk about this in a minute. I mean, you can make a boatload of money writing these things for sure. Matt, how do you use Calendly?
Okay, Calendly links. Does everybody have the Calendly links to myself and Jack? Right? You've got that for Jack, Gary, and Matt. Okay, here's what we beg of you. There is a right way to set these up in Calendly, and it's not your fault when it doesn't that it doesn't tell you exactly what you need to do. Calendly and Outlook don't always talk to each other correctly. Okay. So sometimes we get appointments in our Outlook calendar that came from Calendly, and we don't know who they're with or who we're meeting with and what the details are, even though you think you put them in there. So number one, most important thing I'm going to ask you to do when you click on that tax deferred asset protection review, which is a 1-hour appointment with me and your client, at the top, the very first line on that, it's going to ask you, you pick the time and then name. That name, everybody puts the client name there, and I want that there. But I want your name there as well. So it's going to be Mrs. Jones, right? And Peter Wilburn on that top line. Got that, Peter? Right? Put both of your names in there. And then you can put the client's email right under that. And then you have to click on Add Guest and put your own email in. If you don't, then you're not going to get the appointment in your calendar, and you're going to call me and go, I thought I set an appointment. Yeah, you did. You forgot to put yourself on it. I got your client, but you didn't get it. Right? So just click Add Guest and make yourself a guest. And then please read that next sentence. It says, please provide agent name, client's age or date of birth, what state the client is in. That's actually really important. Nobody ever does it. And
It's important. Make sure.
any additional details. And if you do have statements already from the client, which would be A++, go ahead and email those over to whichever one of us you're setting that appointment with and just say, hey, I just set an appointment with you. Here are the statements that I've already collected. And even if you don't get a reply from us, please know in the background we're going, yes, awesome. Okay? So if you guys can do that when you set those appointments, it'll come into our Outlook calendars correctly, and we will be well prepared for that meeting. Is that fair? All right. Also know that when you pull up the calendar, go back one, Sam. When you pull up the calendar and look at the times, those times will display in your time zone. Okay? So don't worry about where I live and where you live. It'll show up in your time zone, your times. Pick it and go. Last thing I'll say about this. If there's nothing available for any of us, then you got to just do one extra step. Call us or email us or text us and say, hey, I didn't see anything available on your calendar. I really need to get this client next week. Do you have any available times? I'm going to give you guys a little secret. I block out my lunch hour and I will give it up for an appointment every day. Okay? Yeah, Joe?
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing too is, everybody here has FMLs, right? Everybody has an FML. You reach out to your FML and say, hey, look, I'm trying to get, one of the FIA team members on your calendar. They know to call me or text me. So the FML will say, hey, the easiest way is go direct. But if they're tied up and things like that, if your FMLs too they'll reach out to me and the FIA team. But we just, again, we've got your back. Like we've got you covered. So we're here to help you. And Jeff Kale said it, very, very unique. So all right, what PowerPoint, so where are we at? What slide are we on?
Yeah, go ahead and skip a couple forward there. Where are we at, Miss Sam?
It should be James's product training next.
Well, I want to add this in there, just kind of a piggyback on what's the fundamental principle of insurance? So we've all took our insurance exams, right? It's reducing risk, and reducing risk could be, I'd be willing to pay a few dollars a month if I had a cancer risk, and that would alleviate it. So I'm willing to put it out. So on the same principle of reducing risk, if a client's like, well, hold on, why am I meeting with the FIA team? You can say, well, this is what we do. You insure everything important to you. You maybe insure your house, your car, your life, maybe your teeth. Well, why wouldn't you insure a certain portion of your money? The safest place to put your money is with an insurance carrier, and we're about reducing risk. Now, if all your money is in the bank making zero risk, we can give you a zero risk proposition and actually make you more money than a checking account. If you have a bunch of money all at risk in the market, we can maybe move some of those chips to reduce some of your risk. So you insure everything important to you. Why wouldn't you insure a portion of your money to reduce risk? That's where a lot of these things come together fundamentally. We can go to the next slide, but I think I covered the indexing pretty simply and effectively, where we can make you money on the way up and not lose money on the way down. And I kind of already jumped ahead on that illustration, but the fundamental principle is we can reduce some of your risk or give you. Most people have some money at risk, but if 100% of their money is in the checking account making zero, well, we can give them a little better rate of return without any additional risk. So there is a value proposition to a lot of your clients that they're just willing to set the appointment and talk to a professional about maybe insuring a piece of their money, because that's important, like your house, your car, your life, your teeth. Money is part of the equation, and we're really retirement planners. We're trying to mitigate risk for our clients on a variety of health fronts. Well, economics and some money, that's a risk as well. So it really just falls in line with what we do as insurance professionals, is protecting our client, protecting their health, their life, maybe some a financial situation or money as well. So on Emeritus, Why is it such the safest place? If you want to look up, we actually did a training once where somebody said, my client says I'm not putting my money anywhere that's not FDIC insured. And I kind of thought about that, and like, that's kind of what my dad said. We look up the FDIC, what, insures your CDs at the bank. They were started in 1933. The FDIC, the safe place to put your money in CDs. They used fundamentals of insurance, taking a piece from each policy and having a reserve fund. Look at the screen. When was Emeritus around? This is insurance. It's safer than the bank. There's more reserve dollars. They've been using these for 136 years. We have a product through issue age 85 and maybe one soon to come through 90. But the product, our carriers, these dinosaur carriers we joke about, hang your hat on the longevity of the carrier. They've been through a couple pandemics, a couple world wars. We're going to insure your money at an A-rated company, the safest place to put your money, to maybe either remove some risk that you have out there or to give you a better deal at the bank that you perceive as the safest place, when this is really the FDIC. This was created decades after our insurance companies. Smile and be happy. We're in a great position where people are flocking to safety, want to insure their lives or their money with whom? A-rated, dinosaur, A+ rated insurance carriers that have been around a long time. It says on the screen a safe alternative. So there's a lot of things that we can offer, and the kind of in the hierarchy of sales. I mean, you can sell cell phones, you can sell cars. Some people sell real estate. In a certain way, we're kind of selling or protecting money. So we're moving into this upper echelon of retirement planning where we're trying to protect people's money and assets. In addition, it's a more comprehensive approach. But realize that, we hear that word financial. This is all part of the equation as a retirement planner. You don't have to be an expert in everything. You're helping your client insure themselves from these different risks. And this is a great option to buying a CD at the bank where they get a small yield and they pay taxes. Well, a lot of our fixed rate are 3.5% and 4%. So we have index annuities that can give them a guaranteed rate better than the bank, or we can index it like I showed and make up to a certain cap. Either way, there's no risk. And I'm going to go to this one. There's an agent, I plagiarize everything I do. There's an agent who used to sell 20 million a year, and he'd do his annuity presentation and he'd ask the client, so this sounds great. You're probably asking yourself, what's the catch? And they would say, yeah, we're kind of thinking that. The answer is time and access. A lot of these are 10-year annuity programs. When's the last time you touched your rainy day money or this spot of funds? Well, we haven't touched it. We haven't touched it in over 20 or 30 years. If you can afford to put your money in a place where you can afford a little bit of time and you have limited access, like you can grab 10% if needed for emergency, or if you have a major health emergency, we can grab all the money without penalty. You can give yourself a better deal than you could at the bank. For example, a lot of you walk into the banks and you see the CD chart. If you buy a 6-month CD, you get this number. If you commit to a year long or 2 years, the CD numbers get better. A lot of Americans are buying that 1-year CD over and over and over again for 20 years. They're getting lower yields and paying taxes on it. When was the last time you touched this money? You haven't? Well, stop getting short-term pricing on your long-term money. Let's give you long-term pricing on your long-term money. That would be an annuity. And if you can afford, because you're a good saver, limited access, 10%, kind of like a CD, you have to commit to a program. You can get yourself a much, much better deal, a safe place, and an opportunity to grow it. What's the next slide? And I think that wraps it up for my basic, just why Emeritus and FIAs. It's the safest place to put your money. Now, jumping ahead, we have a website, legacynet.com. Before you write, you're going to set the appointment. Before you write, you just want to register. On the left, there's a temporary product training for you agents who just haven't yet to get your agent number through Legacy. You can actually go to the next one below that. Register your agent number, tap your FML or Joe on the shoulder. What's my agent number with Legacy? You register it and you create your own username password. There's a product training. You go on there. It pulls up a sales guide. You punch in your agent number. You say that I've read through the sales guide, and the product training is easier in that. That's the one you got to do before you write the app, is get that product training done to be compliant. Just part of the equation. It's easy.
I love it. And again, like I mentioned earlier on, James is he is the box of 64. He has been so supportive in helping us really build to where we are today. You'll be hearing more from James. We're going to be doing some trainings here later on in the week. You guys are all invited to, so you're going to see something different. Everybody should have received an email about a new product training on Thursday. If you didn't get that email, make sure that you talk to your FML and get that email, or just send me an email and I'll send it out to you. But let's go back one more slide here, Sam. Due to time, I want to just kind of, put a bow on this and wrap this up a little bit. So if you go to slide 46, I probably said 48 in my text. So 46. So FIAs, we're going to talk about relationship building, but FIAs are all part of what Mr. and Mrs. Jones needs are, right? Having that dialogue, having that conversation. The more conversations that you have with Mr. and Mrs. Jones about all of their gaps in retirement, the more that you look, like that professional, right? Matt talked about it earlier. So it's going to help you write more AP. It's going to help you cross sell with those FIA conversations. It's going to increase your average premium on your AP as well too. You got these annual reviews that you can do. Now you got a reason to pick up the phone, even if you have a recovery care, you should be calling Mr. and Miss Jones every year too, just to make sure that they're okay. It generates referrals. FIAs generate referrals, just a different type of business. Family members, friends, things of that nature. And again, you become that complete benefits representative. So next slide, Sam. Matt talked about, transactional sales and, being a relationship driven, sales professional. When you're a transactional sales professional, it's just one and done, right? That one and done mentality. You're going to, focus on a single sale, high client turnover, price sensitive conversations, so low loyalty, all of those things that go into being just transactional. When you add that retirement portion of this, that retirement aspect, that retirement solutions piece, the fixed indexed annuity, you start to build longer lasting relationships. They want to come back. I've got a slide that I'm going to share here at Summer Sales Rally, and it's going to be like, when you add a financial services piece of business like an annuity in a home, the likelihood of you writing more products goes up drastically. You go from two products to 4 to 6 products just by adding that one, and it opens doors to bigger sales too. And again, you're going to have that financial guide to be able to refer and ask for referrals. So we want to move everybody from transactional to that relationship building sales approach. Next slide, Sam. So again, what's the return on investment? Longer, lasting sales, your AP, all of a sudden, you guys get a residual income on that AP, so it sticks longer, the business lasts longer, bigger and stronger clients. Again, you're building relationships to help you make more money. Now, here's the cool thing for the people that are on the call. All 29 stayed on here, right? We had 30, I know, who dropped off. So all 29 stayed on. Next slide here, Sam.
No, it was that Jeff Kale guy. We'll beat him later.
Yeah. So those that are on here, we have a FIA team. I've got a team. I've got Gary, I've got Jack, and we have Matt. You guys know Matt. You guys get the exclusivity of having Matt as your FIA consultant, right? So if you have a question, if you have an appointment, if you wrote somebody and you have again, something pops up, Matt is going to be your go-to person, right? So I can't remember who asked me for the Calendly links. This is the Calendly link that you need to make sure that you have at the top of your Calendly list. Now, if Matt's not available and you've got somebody that's wanting to meet with you, we're not going to say, okay, well, you can't schedule with Gary or Jack, because you absolutely can. But we want to give you that shoulder to shoulder, that, hey, I'm going to give Matt a call, see if he can help. So Matt, for this group, is going to be your go-to person. You got his cell phone in there right now. But again, if you've got somebody and Matt's not available, don't say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I can't meet with you because Matt's not available. No. We're going to meet. We're going to make sure that we get Mr. and Mrs. Jones taken care of. Is that pretty cool? So we'll open it up for a few questions. We've got a little bit more time. Open it up. Anybody have any questions top of mind? Was this helpful? Good. Questions? Anybody?
Yes, thank you. It was very helpful. Review is always nice. Thanks.
Hi, Deborah, thank you.
And I just put my phone number in the chat.
Deborah, try the snacks. They're wonderful. They're in the room beside you. So the phone number is in there as well too. Any other questions?
We're in the chat, it is.
Yeah.
Listen, fees will make you money. Though not only will you get compensated on the fees that you write, you will write more AP in those households when you have a financial services product in that house. I'm telling you, you will, right? We've got another training that we'll do how you can use fees to sell AP. That's a training that Matt does. It's pretty cool, but it just takes that FIA product and we use it to be able to fund more AP, for Mr. and Mrs. Jones to get that cancer plan. So, hey, I hope this was helpful. I appreciate everybody being on here today. We changed our slides up. This was our first go with this. There's some things that we'll tweak moving forward. I see that now, but this was our first full go with this slide deck. I think it came out pretty good. So I appreciate everybody being on here. Again, Matt is your FIA consultant. And how much money do you get if you set a FIA appointment? How much money? Speak out.
$50.
Jenny, $50. You set that with Matt and that thing sticks, you get $50, right? How
Okay,
much?
so
Go ahead.
you've assigned Matt to like my region. Is that what it is? So don't call
This
Gary.
group. No,
Okay.
you have open, you can schedule with Gary, Jack, but you have Matt is going to be your go-to person.
He's
But
my guy.
but if you don't if Gary or Matt's not available, 100% schedule with Gary and Jack and your FML as well too. But for sure. But we want to give you a little bit more we're trying to figure out will this help the new agents coming out if we just assign, one of the FIA people in this class? And I think it's going to help people because they're going to be like, who do I call? You already know who to call now, right? You know that. So
Let me volunteer one more thing if I can, Joe.
sure.
If any of you, and I don't ever want you guys to be hesitant about this, if you find yourselves where maybe you're making appointments, but you're having trouble setting appointments for this stuff, right? You're having troubles getting appointments with me with the retirement piece. But you're able to set other appointments and you just can't figure out it's not clicking. You're not getting clients to say yes. Send me a text or an email and tell me that, and understand that is completely natural. And I won't hold it against you. But what I would like to do is set up some time one-on-one where we can talk through it and I can help you guys get some ideas and maybe try things from a different angle. I've been doing this for 1,000 years. He wasn't far off. I am that old. I've been doing this forever. I'm more than happy to share what I've stolen from every agent I've ever worked with. Reach out. Let me help you. And yes, I'm a great thief. I've stolen a lot of stuff.
Hey, well, we appreciate everybody being on here. Go set FIA appointments. We'll help you make money. We're here to help you make money. So appreciate everybody being on here. James, Sam, Matt, great job, and happy selling.